Jonathan Kelly. This is my son, Nathan Kelly, and he is 15 months old. He was born on Good Friday in 2015 in Mobile, Alabama at the USA Women's and Children's Hospital. Me and my wife, Dawn, first found out that something may be wrong with Nathan when about the third trimester of his pregnancy, when some of his bones weren't going right. We didn't know exactly what it was going to be, and for anybody that ever has to go through this, the doctors are not going to give a good outlook once they start seeing these things, because they don't know what it is. And we were told everything from don't expect him to survive delivery to he may never breathe, he may only live a couple of days. So we were deeply hurt, but we were also very faithful and very religious, and we knew that God wouldn't put anything on us that we couldn't handle. And there was never any other option other than just in our hearts and minds to just love Nathan as much as possible and to be there for him every day. So when Nathan was born, he breathed and screamed, and it was probably the happiest moment of mine and his mama's life was to hear him scream, even though him wasn't happy about it at all. But so after that, he went into the NICU at USA Women's and Children's, and it was about probably a week later that we started hearing what things might be. But there was no confirmation, and it was everything from Zellwegers to RCDP, and there was another one that I really can't remember right now, but none of them were really good. None of them had a great outlook. Never Google anything. And so there was nothing nice on Google. But we had a really, really supportive doctor there, and his name was Dr. Sexton. He's our pediatrician. And he actually had cerebral palsy, and he took our hand and guided us through the first part of this process. And it took a while for us to get comfortable and our heads wrapped around Nathan's condition and what all problems he was going to have, and what all things that he wouldn't do, but what all things that we wanted him to be able to do and things. And we got in touch with Rhizo Kids probably about 6 to 8 months after we found out. And we actually got in touch with them because we started following Cassidy and her adventure on trying to come over here online. And so we got in touch with them by finding her on Facebook and following, and then finding Rhizo Kids International. And they've been really nice and really helpful. And this has been a really good experience, especially getting to know some of the other parents and getting a reasonable expectation from parents that have been there before you about, some of the complications that you may face and some of the things that, you should expect and other things. But like all the parents say, and like everybody says, each child has their own curve. Each child is different. And it's like I told, me and Don, our thing is that this condition may be a part of who Nathan is, but it does not define who he is. Only God and Nathan will decide them things, and we're going to push him in every way we can. And he might not be able to do everything that other kids can, but we're hopeful that he'll be able to do a lot of things. Now, some of the things that Nathan can do, Nathan can kick like crazy. This boy can kick his feet, and he can cry. He got a good set of lungs. For somebody that was never supposed to be able to breathe, has determined that was a lot. He has got a good old set of lungs. And he has just started making some sounds, and he can say ma, and he can say da, and he can say na for his nana, and he knows who they are, and he's very good at recognizing voices. Some of the things that Nathan can do is let you know when him's not happy, the first thing. He's a really happy, sweet baby. He always loves to smile. Him loves to play with his mama and him daddy. Him eats. Oh my Lord, this child will eat anything. And he's not afraid of food, I'll tell you that. I know some parents here, or some of the doctors have said that, he won't be able to eat this and that. He will eat chicken and dumplings. He'll eat mashed potatoes and gravy. He loves potato salad and will gnaw on a watermelon until he forces the juice out of that joker. He just loves that kind of stuff. And it's been a really good experience coming here, and I would suggest to any parents that have this to come. And it's great to get to know other parents and to get to know things. And there are a lot of complications other than just what goes on with Nathan, and medical expenses and things like that come along with this. And it's a very stressful experience, and especially worrying about finance and things of that nature. But I can tell you this beyond certainty. And someone said it last night, and I had said it before last night. No one will ever know true and unconditional love until they are the parent or the guardian of a special needs child. Because this child right here, when him loves, it's with his whole heart. There's no reservations, there's no holding back, there's no nothing. This child loves wholeheartedly, and him's smile is the most beautiful thing you will ever see. And he is just the most precious angel that has ever come into our lives, and me and his mother could not be happier. And our ultimate goal here is the hopes that this trial will one day make it to where Nathan can have a better quality of life. However incremental that may be, that is our goal, is to give him the best quality of life that we can. And I'm glad to say, and I can say with confidence, that's the goal of Rhizo Kids, is to make the best quality of life for these children that can be made. And we're definitely glad that we came here, and we're definitely glad that we've had this experience and got to meet some of the wonderful parents and people that are associated with this program, and the doctors, and to find out more about this trial and everything that's going on in it. And it's just been a wonderful experience.
I'm Natalie McCrone, and this is my daughter Cassidy. So we found out that we were expecting twins, and shortly after we lost Cassidy's twin. So then carried on our pregnancy, got scanned all the way through, got to 35 weeks, and they knew things weren't right with Cassidy. So limbs didn't measure up, didn't know what it was, and told us she wouldn't survive birth. So on the 25th of March 2015, we went for a section, and Cassidy was born. So we never seen her straight away. They took her away to the nursery and they worked on her. They done loads of tests and x-rays and bloods, and she was in NICU for 7 weeks. When she was 4 weeks old, she was diagnosed with RCDP. For us, we didn't know what that was. Our country didn't know what that was. Our doctors, the 100-year history, had never heard it. So everybody was researching, we were researching, and we found the Rhizo Kids International. And for us, that was our saviour. It really, really was. It gave us a lot of answers that we knew in Scotland we couldn't get. So we just went with the flow and made the best of the situation, living life with a Rhizo kid. Cassidy got her cataract surgery when she was 6 weeks old, and she was discharged from hospital the following day. She came home, and she's been well since. She's been very well. We've just kind of took every day as it comes. We were told that it would never be a good outcome from the very start. When the 19th of August last year, Cassidy came back, the test results that Cassidy had type 1. So our doctors in Scotland obviously don't know much about the condition, but told us that was not a good outcome either. But for us, we've just remained as positive as we possibly can. Just take every day, enjoy every single day. And then we heard about the clinical trial, and that for us was the most amazing thing. My husband and I spoke about it, and we decided that we would start fundraising. So we started Cassie's journey. We set up a Facebook page, we set up a Twitter account, we set up a web address, and we started our fundraising campaign. Within 9 months, we raised over £31,000. So that was pretty awesome. We knew that the clinical trial, the treatment would never come to Britain, come to Scotland. Our government won't entertain it. She's the only one there. There's only 5 throughout the country. So we knew we had to come to the States. So we spoke to the doctors in Delaware and we asked to be part of the clinical trial. That means that Cassie and I have to live in Delaware for 6 months to a year. My husband and children have to stay in Scotland during that clinical trial. So that'll be hard, but it's worth it. If it helps her and it works, then it's worth it. And we've done our fundraising to make sure we can afford to spend that time there. So everything with the clinical trial, we knew that we would get news here at the conference, so we booked a flight. For us, it was very, very important to come to the conference and meet the doctors, meet the other families, and try and learn more about RCDP and what's in front of us with the trial and living in America. So we're here, and it's been fun. It's been overwhelming, but it's been fun. Yeah. So we're here, and our next plan is to go to Delaware for the start of the historical study. And from there we'll go home, and then 6 months later we will move to Delaware, and we will be living in the Ronald McDonald House for the duration of the trial. So that's our plan.
The Rhizo babies, and it's just a good time for all of us to be together and talk to each other, and then of course get our information from our doctors that we need, and the information they need from us about our kids.
That's great. You have a pretty unique story. So Aspen looked pretty much like a normal baby when he was born.
He did. He was like a regular 7 pound. He was a little short, but he was like 20 inches instead of a little longer than that, like the other kids. But yeah, he looked pretty normal to begin with, and then we kind of noticed that he wasn't quite doing things that typical babies would do, and his arms kind of looked floppy at first, and he cried a lot when he was little, so we didn't quite know what was going on. And we went into the ER at Children's, and they did some tests and did some x-rays and found the typical stippling that a child with RCDP would have in the x-rays of his bones, so extra calcium deposits. And we went on from there and had genetic testing done, and then they brought us into their office and told us that he had Rhizomelic Chondrodysplasia punctata.
And something neat happened. I guess he became a road doc. What are the road docs?
The road docs are pretty cool. They are an EMS group. So they are all some sort of EMS personnel, either EMTs or surgeons, nurses, something of that nature, and they do motorcycle rides.
Well, that's great. Well, thanks for sharing your story, Aspen.
No problem.
Where did you come from?
We go to Texas.
So how did you guys feel when you found out that your child had Rhizomelic Chondrodysplasia punctata?
Terrified. I don't even know how to answer that. Because you go on Google and you find out every possible thing that's wrong, and knowing the end and the diagnosis.
What are some of the interesting facts that make your son different than any of the other Rhizo kids?
Well, he's the only one with a colostomy bag. There was another one that had one, but they had theirs reversed. He still has his. He's battling his feeds way more. He's looking at having to get TPN through IV. He's not really active as much of him. He sleeps more than he's awake. He's on, we found out yesterday, he is the only one that is on routine pain meds.
Yeah,
He's
I know.
one of the two that is on round the clock pain med.
And you have a around the clock nurse with you?
24-hour nursing care.
Excellent. How has the Rhizo convention helped you and your family?
I don't know. The 1 week out of the year, it's like we can come and we can. It's like we don't have to really worry. We're like with a big group of family that knows everything you're going through and how to handle everything, and they're just easy to talk to. And a lot of help.
My name is Tracy Thomas, and I'm one of the founders of Rhizo Kids International. In 2007, my son Jackson was born, and just out of the need to find some help for him because there wasn't much available, not a lot of literature, we joined with another family from Alabama that also had a child with RCDP, the Ellis family, and we joined with them and we started Rhizo Kids International because we wanted to reach out to people anywhere that had children with RCDP. And we just found some other families on the internet that had it, 3 other families, and we reached out to Dr. Nancy Braverman in Canada and asked her could we bring our kids to Canada for her to see them, and she said no, if there are 2 kids in Alabama with it, I'll just come to Alabama. So she came down, and the other 3 families that we met through the internet said, well, you know, we'd like to come to Alabama and let her see our children too. So they came, and 2 of those families had 2 children each. So there were 7 children in Alabama for her to examine when she came that weekend. And she told us, she said, you know, I can advance my research a whole lot faster if I can kind of monitor the progress of the disease. So if you can do this every year, bring families together, she said, I promise we can move research a lot faster. So that's been our commitment. We've been committed to providing a family conference every year for RCDP. We do that here in Alabama. And we've grown from 5 families to 18 families this year, plus about 6 families that have already lost their children that are here for support. So our other commitment is to provide money for research. So we raise funds for research, and we just fund projects that the doctors need help with. And we're committed to helping find a cure for RCDP.
All right, so welcome everybody. This is a huge number of people. Usually it's like a room a third the size, and there's about 7 or 8 tables, and only 3 of them are full for my primer on RCDP. So I'm very excited about this, and we're really excited about this meeting. There's a lot happening. It's been building up for many years, and so this is going to be a really exciting time, and hopefully that we'll get a lot of things done together. Clinical description of RCDP. So when you look at your children, what do you see? And I think one of the big problems that we see is this problem in bone formation, and so that the growth of the children is poor. They have a lot of limitations and restrictions in how much they can move their joint. Sometimes the growth of the spine is also unusual, and so it'll press on the spinal cord as well. And that's a primary bone problem, but it ends up being a primary neurological problem because it's pressing on the spinal cord. And then there's also actually these respiratory issues where there's a lot of infections and it's harder to clear. And as I'll show you, that may be because the rib cage is really small because the underlying skeletal problem, or at least partly because of that. So these are what some of the skeletal changes look like if you took a picture of your chest. And the picture is going from the front to the back here. We call this anterior posterior view. And what you can see here is well, first of all, that the upper arms are short, right? And that's the humerus bone up there, and it's much shorter than it should be on either side. And then what you can see is that the joint that makes the elbow at the end is very enlarged, and there's a lot of sort of unusual calcifications in that joint, and that's that punctata. And that the shortening of that bone is some sort of drug that might, or medication that might be able to improve the activity of the PEC7 protein that's the BAT instead of the PAT. So it doesn't work as well. Maybe there's a medication that would make it work better. So that's another idea. Maybe we could also replace the protein that's not working. So why not just provide a normal PEC7 protein, a normal RCDP3 enzyme or a normal RCDP2 enzyme? And there has been enzyme replacements in other diseases. In this particular disease condition, RCDP, it's a little bit more challenging, but these are different methods. And so now you guys should be able to think. So potential therapies, how can we give a targeted therapy for this disease? Well, if plasmalogens are so important, that's what they can't make, and there's clearly the more plasmalogens you have, the better off you do. It seems like one no-brainer would be give back plasmalogens, and so that's one of the things that we've been trying to work on. And we'll talk about all of the research project and the things that we're doing tomorrow, but I sort of wanted to give you this background of why we focus on supplementing with plasmalogens as one of the most obvious things that we can do to help the clinical picture.
Very exciting. It's a very exciting field to be in right now, and it happens to be called gene therapy. And the idea is why not just try to genetically fix the cells of people who have RCDP, especially if you can fix the brain or any other organ, and just add back a normal copy of PEC7. We know, Nancy was actually the person who identified that disease gene. And so the hope years ago was that once we find a disease gene, we could just use something like gene therapy to fix the genetic defect, and then you're pretty much good to go. You don't have to essentially even take any drugs from there on. Your body would naturally be able to produce that PEC7, and it would.
There are ways to surgically correct it. I think one child in this room has had a realignment. Marley has had a realignment across there. You did it down Baltimore? It's in Baltimore. And I think Marley's recurring a little bit now.
Yeah, she's dropping.
Yeah. So this is just an example showing scoliosis and kyphosis. So scoliosis is that. You can see it in this x-ray. And then kyphosis is the forward bend. This is a child with Chondrodysplasia punctata of a different type to most of the kids here. These kids develop severe, there's a scoliosis here and a kyphosis there. And you can see how sharp those bends are. And when they become severe, they cause pain, difficulty with sitting, and cord compression. And we often have to decompress them and align them, and this is what I did here in this child a number of years ago. It makes you look like you're even happier guy.
He wore a helmet for a while because the left side of his head was getting flat.
He also feels like he has cervical kyphosis. Cervical kyphosis, thoracic lordosis, or lumbar kyphosis. Did you see that? Miniature version of that picture I showed you earlier. See the kyphus? Keep going. Another one. Want to go in one direction? Oh yeah, that's fine. Yeah, so he has a kyphus, moderate mid cervical stenosis, but not crazy bad, right?
No, there's a flash of fluid every once in a while. I don't know how
Braverman, and I'm a physician scientist working at McGill University in Montreal. And I've been studying peroxisome disorders for almost 2 decades. And Rhizomelic chondrodysplasia punctata, or RCDP, is one of the peroxisome disorders that I study. And when I first started working on this, we didn't know the genes involved, and we didn't know most about the disease. And so what I did first was find some of the genes that were involved in these disorders, including the PEC7 gene, in which changes cause RCDP. And that was very exciting to discover that early on in my career. And I wanted to go on and find out what this gene did. So what protein did it encode? What were the functions of the protein? How did that work in the cell? And how did that translate into disease in the children? And how, once we understood that whole process, could we find a therapy for the kids? And so that's sort of been my little journey. It's been a team effort, and it's an effort with a lot of collaborators that I have as scientists, collaborators as physicians, collaborators as parents and families and laypersons, and none of this could have happened alone or even with one or two groups. And to move a rare disease field forward, we really need to have a complementary team of a lot of different people. And so I'm really grateful to have been part of that team and to sort of see it grow and assemble, which has been a really unique experience. We have studied the PEC7 gene and its protein. We now know what it does, and it brings some enzymes into the peroxisome that are important in the synthesis of a lipid molecule that's present in all cell membranes. So it's a critical lipid molecule. It's called a plasmalogen, which is a mouthful, but it's become a familiar term to all of us, and maybe we'll shorten it. So the Rhizo Kids actually shortened Rhizomelic Chondrodysplasia punctata also to Rhizo Kids because RCDP was too much of a mouthful. But for now we call it plasmalogens, and so the problem is that PEC7 can't get an enzyme into the peroxisome, and therefore we can't make plasmalogens, and their disease really is due to the fact that they can't make this lipid. And like many rare genetic diseases, it's multi-system, so a lot's involved: the brain, the eyes, the bone, the heart, digestion, and the root cause is this lack of plasmalogens because this particular gene doesn't function. And so we looked at all of the patients and identified their gene changes and tried to and actually made an association between gene changes that were not as severe as others being associated with children who had more milder diseases than others, and that being associated with higher lipid levels at baseline. And then we went on to make a mouse model of this disease, and we're still making additional mouse models so that we would learn more about why these lipids are so important to cell membranes, and why, if they're deficient, they cause these different clinical pictures, and also to figure out a therapy and actually test it on the mouse. And so that's the stage we're at now, and in collaborating with a company, we were able to design a lipid molecule that's similar to a plasmalogen that we could replace in the mice orally and bring up their lipid levels in the blood of this particular and important critical lipid. And the hope is that once these lipid levels have improved, that some of the features of the disease will improve, and that this will help tremendously the quality of life in the children. So this is where we are, and we started these meetings about 8 years ago, and they've grown in size, and we've met a lot of different families and a lot of different kids. And we've learned a lot about the disease, because in rare diseases, you don't have a lot of children to take a look at. So if to learn all about different clinical manifestations, you really need to see lots of kids. And if I only examine 4 kids or 10 kids or 20 kids, I might still miss something that happened that I don't see happening until I see the 50th child. So to put together a picture of the clinical history, how it affects the children, we do need to see them. And so these meetings have been really special for us, and also to meet the family and to explain everything we're doing, and to make sure that we as scientists are on the same page as the families. We're doing what they want us to do, and as physicians, we're on the same page as the families, and again, that the families are on the same page as us as we move forward. So,
Dr. Braverman, I see you with the Rhizo children. You love them. Do you have a Rhizo child of your own? And what drove you to work with these Rhizo kids?
Okay, so, well, I don't have a Rhizo child of my own, but I am a pediatrician, so I've seen lots of different children with a lot of different diseases. And again, I think I have become involved with this disorder because I started really in the lab with bench work on understanding this disorder. So I feel like I understand what's going on in their body, what the problem is, or I'm beginning to understand parts of it. And so I love to interact with them because each time I do it, they teach me something more about them.
Thank you.
So I am Hong Burton. I'm a research dietitian from Johns Hopkins University. I got involved with the Rhizo Kids through Nancy Braverman because she was one of our attending at Hopkins. And I also involved with other paroxysmal disorder as well, but had special heart for the Rhizo Kids. Because I see like the families are a very caring group for some serious diseases, but everybody seems to pushing on, take good care of the children. My interest in the Rhizo Kids is we do not know a lot about them yet. I'm learning all the way to see, do they actually grow differently? Do they actually have a different nutritional need as far as the amount of calorie they need and other nutrients that they need? There's a wide open field to learn about them. I'm also a pediatric dietitian, so I bring into the meeting my knowledge of how to feed the kids in general. So that's part of my role, is to contribute as much as I can and learn as much as I can.
Hi, so I'm with Dad. I'm a PhD student working under Dr. Nancy Braverman lab from Montreal, Canada, McGill University. And so actually Rhizo Kids, so I heard from Dr. Braverman about the Rhizo Kids, and it's been very nice to come and see the family. So that my research projects involved working to make a mouse model for an RCDP or the Rhizo kid. Yeah, so our groups and collaborators actually had made a therapy that could be very exciting and throws for the field. So I'm working to test that therapy in the mouse models and to see if that's helpful. And then it will be go to the clinical trials for kids.
So you're going to the clinical trials. So you've had good results with the mice?
So actually it's in parallel. So I'm doing we had a previous good results from the mouse models, but now we are testing the whole cocktails of the drugs on the mouse models to see, and we are doing also a functional test to see how this will improve the quality of life in terms of Rhizo growth.
My name's Joe Hasey. I'm a geneticist at the University of Southern California, and I've been involved in peroxisome biogenesis disorder, or PBD, research for about 10 years now. And I started at that time through my interactions with a physician scientist by the name of Hugo Mosier at the Kennedy Krieger Institute in Baltimore. And I was working also with his wife, Ann Mosier, and they're both inspirational people and humanitarians. And it was through Hugo and Ann that I began meeting families with peroxisome biogenesis disorders. The first families that I met had a type of peroxisome biogenesis disorder by the name of Zellweger spectrum disorder. And I began working with an organization of families called the Global Foundation for Peroxisomal Disorders. And it was through working with the GFPD, that particular organization, that I became introduced to a number of amazing physician scientists. One of them was Dr. Nancy Braverman, who you just heard from. And she was told me about this organization called Rhizo Kids. And she invited me to give a talk at the Rhizo Kids conference probably around 5 or 6 years ago. And it's really through the meeting families that I fell in love with this particular group, and I wanted to do my best to help serve that community. And it was the best way I felt that I could help serve that community would be to help serve physician scientists like Nancy Braverman and Michael Bober and dedicated individuals like Hong, and to be able, in their mission, to be able to help improve the lives of their children.
So rare diseases like RCDP are often complicated by affecting many tissues and organs and cells, starting in development and going on through life. And it's thought that the best way to treat these disorders is really to have a lot of different therapies in place. So you might be treating one therapy might treat one organ, one therapy might treat another, one therapy might treat many, one therapy might be important early on in life, one therapy might be important later on in life. So it's really believed that the best possible outcome for each patient will be something personalized for them, because each disease manifests differently differently to some extent in each individual, but also because we won't be able to completely cure a disease, or we don't expect to, with a single therapy at this time. And so for RCDP, we're really lucky because, in a way, because we know that the disease is caused by the deficiency of an important critical lipid called plasmalogens. So we have this option of replacing plasmalogens as a first attempt at therapy. And by working with a company, and also by all of our collaborations between physicians, scientists, and the families, we are able now to start our first clinical trial and to provide plasmalogens to these children and to determine to what extent they respond. So this is really exciting for us. The trial should start in February. It will take place at Humerus Hospital in Delaware at the Skeletal Dysplasia Center and be run by Mike Bober. And at the same time, we're also planning to continue our work with a few other different types of therapies, and we have the resources now, and we have the people involved and animal models, and so we also want to get gene therapy and different kinds of drug therapy to these patients as well.
So Nancy, can you tell me a little bit more about that trial? How many people are going to be involved? What are the expectations?
Right. So the trial is going to accept 30 children with RCDP. It could be any type, and because all types of RCDP have a plasmalogen deficiency. And we've already at this meeting, according to the family organization, have 30 patients that will definitely be enrolled. So they've already been identified, and they will, or they've identified themselves. And they will be coming to Humerus Hospital in the fall for enrollment, and they will have a series of tests done over 2 days that will monitor different systems, like the neurological system and the breathing system and the heart system and the peripheral nervous system and the digestive system and the skeletal system, so that each patient will have a set of baseline values, and we'll look at that at enrollment into the trial, at 3 months at home with various questionnaires, and at 6 months back at the trial center to repeat the initial tests that were done at baseline. And that will give us a set of measurements that we can then compare that child off the plasmalogens and then on the plasmalogens and see if we have any improvement. Exactly how we design the plasmalogen study, we still have some work to do as to how often the child will be orally dosed with this plasmalogen and how long we will continue the study to look for different effects and how much more measurements will be done during the trial.
So the plasmalogen replacement is going to be a food supplement in a way, right?
Well, really, it's the product that the body is not making. So even better than a food supplement, it's an endogenous substance that the body would be making. And that's the reason that the company can get it approved as a medical product initially. We haven't had a adverse reaction to this oral lipid when we give it to mice. It's also by the company. It's also been provided to monkeys in a Parkinson's disease trial and was well tolerated. And at the same time, it's being launched right now in an Alzheimer's disease trial where we expect it to be well tolerated. And this is another one of the sort of serendipity events that happen that can push you forward, and that we're very lucky in that our very rare disease, RCDP, has a deficiency of plasmalogens. At the same time, a very common disease, Alzheimer's, has a deficiency of plasmalogen as a secondary consequence of the disease process. And so there's a lot of interest in seeing if plasmalogen replacement will also help Alzheimer's patients.
So it's starting this fall, is that right?
For the RCDP trial.
Yes. So next year at the Rhizo Kids meeting, what do you expect to see in the plasmalogen levels in these children?
Well, I expect that we'll be able to improve the blood, red blood cell, and the plasma levels of this lipid to almost normal in all of the kids, or near normal, and that we will see some subtle changes in some of the parameters that we were measuring at baseline. I don't expect to see any big changes, but I'm hopeful for small changes, and I think small changes really go a long way in the quality of life of an individual who is so handicapped. So that I think that will be a big step moving forward. We will have learned a lot, and we'll be able to really go to the next step, which is, do we need to give more plasmalogens? Do we need another therapy? How do we move forward? So we've made all of this progress, and we're really at a cutting edge right now where we can offer our first therapy. It has potential to improve the quality of life of these children. It replaces a critical lipid that's missing in their body. It's a substance that's produced by the body. So what better head start could you make in a clinical research field? But we really do need funds from the community to continue this work, both at our level as physician scientists, at physicians seeing these kids, at the family organization, bringing the families together, at the level of bringing the families to the clinical trials and helping them out. So there's so many reasons that and places that funds could be needed to keep us moving forward. And it's been a difficult funding climate, and it's been a difficult one for very rare diseases. I think that we have to be more original in where we get our funds for to get this work done. And so we've been reaching out to community organizations. We've been establishing collaborations with industry, and all of this has worked really well. So I encourage you to help us in Rhizo Kids and help us give these kids a better quality of life and help us keep this research moving forward. Thank you.